Ark Survival Ascended Beyond Ascension Part 3. With our new spyglass in hand, and our child who had reached maturity, we had traveled across the vast ocean on a raft to reach Herbivore Island, and that is where we will begin our journey today. And now that we had landed, I began scoping out the local wildlife as I wanted to make me a new friend, and if it was a friend with wings, that would be a benefit. But unfortunately for this PT, he was birthed at a low level 5, so I just proceeded to shoot him in the head. And then I decided I wanted a friend with some spikes, so I went on the search for an anglio, and I was beginning to think that they were not here. But then, right as I crawled over the tippity top of the mountain, I looked down below, and there they were, hiding in that little tiny hole. And I could have walked all the way around, but I was feeling awfully lazy as the hike up here was quite long. So I built myself a parachute and took the easy way down. And then there they were, these beautiful yet dangerous looking creatures, who I planned to beat into submission until they did everything I asked them without question. I began to look closely at each of them to identify which one would be easier to please, as I was not a rich survivor, and these fellas loved them some crops, and all I had was berries, so I went with the weaker of the two, a level 50. But then it dawned on me, the strong one was not going to let me just up and take the weak one. I was going to have to get rid of him, and I did not possess the power to take him out. So I went through and started working on building a trap so I could basically use the trap to go through and kill them and be as safe as possible. But I got distracted. I mean, look at that sky. It was beautiful, and it was just going to be used to mask the death and the screams of all of the dinosaurs that I killed on this island. I then realized that this trap was not going to build itself, so I needed to channel my inner Bob the Builder. Once I had finished destroying these creatures' homes for the sake of building this trap, there was a change of plans. There was a baby anklio, so I knew I wanted to make him my own, as that would be way easier than try to feed these guys berries. So I proceeded to kill the level 50 and the level 85, but this big fella was giving me some trouble. He refused to go down. But eventually, after him slipping and sliding out of the trap, I do manage to land the final arrow and send him into the afterlife. And then I took the little baby, chopped up his parents in front of him, and told him, let's head on home to your new family. And it was at this point that I realized I might just be a terrible father figure, as once our little anklio friend had grown up, I brought him out into the wilderness, and instead of feeding him or caring for him, I just put him to work. The moment he was old enough to work, I made him work. I went through and I gave him directions and ordered him to smash all the metal around, and I just sat there and I watched and made him do all the hard work. That's parenting at its finest. Wait! So sadly, our anklio friend, who we'd had no longer than 5 minutes, and had no name whatsoever, had now fallen. I really did not know what it was that I had done to the Ark gods to deserve this kind of cruel punishment. First we lost friend, And then we lost a possible friend in a dodo. And then the Moschops didn't want to be our friend. And then we lost our Ankylo. Ark truly is a hard game. But hey, I checked out his inventory and the guy got quite a bit of metal. We had over 200 metal at this point. This was going to be 100 plus ingots. This was awesome. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be sad right now. Let's build you a grave in your honor. And let's come up with a name. We will call you Spike. And we will put a box here with all the stuff that you had on your corpse when you died. Because we're going to eat your corpse. It's just the way of Ark. But that way remember what it is that you fought for and why you died. But now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of need and want all these things. You know what? I'm going to leave a pebble in this box for you to remember you by. Thank you, my Ankylo friend. Thank you. Goodbye, my young Spike. It was nice knowing you for those 5 minutes. Spike's passing was still fresh in our mind, but with sacrifice comes progression. And we're able to take all that metal and load up the forge and craft our first crossbow. And this was pivotal in our journey as the old bow was constantly breaking. And on top of that, we spotted a level 5 alpha megalodon floating out in the ocean. But the only problem is that I couldn't get his attention from the shore, so I took a risk and decided we would go out to him. Now I'm not gonna lie to you. I was scared. I was scared we could lose everything. I had no idea if there were any lead thickets nearby. I also had no idea if the Megalodon would attack the raft and could eat the raft. I didn't think so, which is the only reason I was brazen enough to come out here in the first place. But unfortunately, no matter how hard we tried, even though we did land a couple of shots, he simply was not interested in entertaining our battle. So I made my way back to Herbivore Island feeling like a failure and a disappointment as Spike had given his life to get us this crossbow and I couldn't even kill a shark. Now when I got back to Herbivore Island, I was met with quite the surprise. I was quite hungry and I saw this really cool, colorful looking egg. Now with my HUD turned off, I had no idea what it was, so I just picked it up and I hoped for the best, because the only thing I saw nearby was a parasaur, so I figured, what's the worst that can happen? And oh boy, was that a mistake. Out of the trees came angry Mama Trike, and she was pissed. And then, after landing a couple of shots, the trike fell over. But not because I killed it, but because I was using trank arrows the entire time, wasting my trank arrows on this extremely low-level trike. And then I found another egg, so of course you know what that meant. It was gonna be toasty dinosaur and eggs for lunch. And then I had found myself a PT. Now, it wasn't incredibly high level, it was only level 95, but it was the best I could actually find. So I went through and I knocked it out, and I figured we would go through and try and find a baby so we could get some prime meat to feed it later on. That's right, we are going to be killing the future population to go through and save this weaker PT. Don't ask me why. I then set out on a mission to go all the way around Herbivore Island looking for some sort of baby to feed this PT. And I wasn't really finding anything until finally I did stumble upon a couple of baby parasaurs, exactly what it was that I was looking for. So you guys know what happens next. Now, immediately after taking care of that baby parasaur, I saw an extremely colorful egg, and I really didn't know what it belonged to at the time, so I went to go pick it up. And that was a mistake. So I checked my inventory, and I noticed it belonged to some PTs, who immediately attacked me the moment I exited my inventory. And now, in this point in time, it was do or die. Because you can't outrun a PT, they are far faster than you are, and they have no stam being a wild creature. And I honestly, for a moment, thought at this point in time, this was going to be my first death of the series. But fortunately, I was able to bowl both of them. Now, I was going to immediately kill them, but then I thought about taming them. The only problem is I couldn't check their level with my spyglass because there's this weird glitch on PlayStation where if you go into the orbit mode, and your HUD is turned off, when you go back into regular first-person mode or third-person mode and you re-enable the HUD, for some reason you can't see their levels. So I just figured I'd go through and knock them out because it only takes a couple of shots, and then I would check their stats, and they were both kind of crap, so I proceeded to chop them up too, and then made my way back over to the base with the prime meat from the baby parasaur for our level 95 PT. And then once I got back to the raft here, I went through to give all of the prime meat to the pteranodon, and he managed to get tamed up. And I had forgot to name him yet again. I am terrible at this naming thing. Alright, well, we will come up with a name for him in the next episode. And as soon as I finished taming him, I realized at this point in time it would probably be a good time to go through and relog. That way I could actually get back the details for creature levels. So I saved and exit, and I popped right back into the game, and weirdly enough, he was already tamed prior to me logging out, but when I came back, my PT was still his base level. He had not gained the extra taming levels. And then when I went through and I inspected the actual graph showing what had happened, it actually indicated he should have been a level 140 plus. However, he was still just his base level, just he was tamed now. So that was extremely odd. I got arked twice in a matter of a couple of minutes. Now, I don't know if I'll log back off and log back in again. If he's going to be normal level, I will let you know in the next episode. Now, due to this PT being a much lower level than what I initially anticipated it being due to that weird little save glitch, I decided I was going to go on a mission to see if I could find any other PTs flying around the island. Now, unfortunately, no matter how many I found, they were all low levels. I could not find anything above a level 50, and so at this point in time, even being just a basic level 95, I was gonna have to settle. And it was at this point in time that I realized I had probably overstayed my welcome on Herbivore Island. I had myself a PT, albeit a glitched one, and I got myself a couple of other resources here as well, and it was time to leave. I was going to leave the Explorer nodes here in the event that I chose to come back with the higher level PT at a later time, or if I found a Sarco, this would be a great location to swoop by and grab some extra experience. But before I left, I chopped down a couple of trees so I could throw them in the forge because I still wanted to continue my production for charcoal so I can make some ammunition in the near future. And that is where we will end our journey today. Alright guys, well if you did enjoy today's video, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing if you're not already.